Ziegler-Natta and Metallocene catalysts. One of the most important discoveries in chemistry and in the chemical industries in the last century is that of the Ziegler-Natta catalysts for the polymerization of olefins. In 1953, Carl Ziegler discovered a catalyst based on titanium tetrachloride, TiCl4, and diethylaluminium chloride as a co-catalyst for the polymerization of ethylene into high molecular weight HDPE, high-density polyethylene, at room temperature. In 1954, Giulio Natta used this catalyst to polymerize propylene into crystalline PP, polypropylene. Carl Ziegler and Giulio Natta became Nobel laureates in 1963 for their respective discoveries in the field of polymers. The discovery of Ziegler-Natta catalysts gave a new dimension to the world of polymers. For more than 5 decades, remarkable progress in catalytic olefin polymerization has simplified polyolefin production by eliminating deactivation, solvent use, and polymer purification steps. It seemed that catalyst design, polymer reaction engineering, and polymer process technologies were being pushed forward to produce novel polyolefin materials to meet the demands of highly diversified industries. Ziegler-Natta catalysts are the most widely used in the global polymerization industry for the production of PP. In the early 1970s, new catalysts containing magnesium compounds, such as magnesium chloride or magnesium alkoxide, in conjunction with either TiCl4 or TiCl3, were designed that improved the activity of Ziegler-Natta catalysts and trialkylaluminium co-catalysts by at least 1 or 2 orders of magnitude. Ziegler-Natta catalysts provided a unique route to stereoregular, high molecular weight polyolefin synthesis, but the tacticity of the resulting material was not easily tunable. Metallocene catalyst was the next breakthrough development of Ziegler-Natta catalysts and in polyolefin synthesis. Reactions occur at standard temperature and pressure, and on top of that, metallocenes offer regioselectivity. Original Ziegler-Natta catalysts are known as multi-site catalysts. The complex formed with titanium tetrachloride and aluminum alkyl co-catalysts offers limited polymer morphology. Catalysts are not soluble in solvents. On the other hand, metallocenes are known as single-site catalysts. They are soluble and easy to remove from the reaction mixture. Based on solubility, the Ziegler-Natta catalyst has been categorized into 2 major classes. 1. Heterogeneous catalysts. These are industry-dominating catalysts that are based on titanium compounds, and sometimes vanadium-based, and used for polymerization reactions, usually in combination with organo-aluminum compounds like triethylaluminium as co-catalysts. 2. Homogeneous catalysts. These are the second broad class of catalysts and are based on complexes of Ti, Zer, or HF. They are generally used in combination with a range of different organo-aluminum co-catalysts known as metallocene or methylaluminoxane, MAO. Traditionally, they include metallocenes, but also feature multidentate oxygen and nitrogen-based ligands. Mechanism for the catalysis of polyolefins. The treatment of a toluene solution and zirconocene dichloride with MAO, methylaluminoxane, results in a rapid initial ligand exchange reaction that firstly generates the monomethyl complex. An excess of MAO leads to the generation of dimethyl zirconocane and the catalytically active ion-paired species along with the counter-ion. The cation in the presence of ethylene results in a pi complex that, in turn, gives the insertion product, N equals 1, as the first intermediate of the polymerization process. This is followed by a step-by-step insertion of ethylene, achieving the cationic alkyl zirconocene, N equals 2, 3, N. Beta elimination gives the uneven chain polymer containing a terminal carbon-carbon double bond. The cationic zirconocene hydride commences the polymerization reaction that is catalyzed by a zirconocene cation to give an even chain polymer. PE is the most popular and widely used polymer to date. The formation of PE occurs by the polymerization of the ethylene monomer in an insertion reaction. Despite the simple structure of PE, its manufacturing route is quite complex, with different types of synthetic procedures. Due to some of its peculiarities, it is considered a unique polymer having a high crystallization rate and chain flexibility, which are mostly derived from its perfect chain structure. Therefore, it is not available in an amorphous state, and most of its properties are derived by extrapolating from those of semi-crystalline samples. The properties of different forms of PE can vary as a consequence of structural changes resulting from the polymerization technique. In general, linear low-density polyethylene, LLDPE, and high-density polyethylene, HDPE, are conventionally synthesized via the catalytic ethylene polymerization reaction at low temperatures and pressures, as compared to the LDPE manufacturing route. In particular, LLDPEs prepared via Ziegler-Natta catalysis have more uneven co-monomer distributions, whereas a reverse trend is observed for those synthesized by metallocenes catalysts. Such differences in co-monomer distributions are mainly attributed to the difference in the available active sites in the two catalysts that manifests itself in the rheological and mechanical properties of the polymers as well as their melt miscibility. However, polymer density can be controlled by the ethylene/co-monomer molar ratio, temperature, and the catalyst type. The ability to crystallize the substance is affected by its molecular weight, concentration of branches, and their distribution along the backbone of the copolymer. In order to understand the crystallization behavior of the branched molecules, more homogeneous fractions of the copolymer are required. The processing ability and the properties of the final product depend strongly on the branching of the polymer. In coordination polymerization, generally, a polyolefin is produced by multiple insertions of olefins into a metal-carbon bond in different ways. The regiochemistry of insertion, the catalyst regioselectivity, and the regioregularity of the polymer is determined by either primary or secondary olefin insertion into a metal-carbon bond, while the choice of the olefin enantiophase selectivity determines the stereochemistry of each insertion, the catalyst stereoselectivity. The catalyst stereoselectivity and the stereoregularity or tacticity of the polymer is defined by the stereochemical relation between the stereogenic carbon atoms in the polymer chain, because any olefin insertion forms a new stereogenic center. Since propylene is an asymmetrical monomer, PP can be produced with different stereochemical configurations. The structure is based on the type of metal catalyst with tunable properties and selectivities. From a commercial viewpoint, isotactic PP has a more ordered structure and therefore higher melting point, heats of fusion, and crystallinity in comparison to its atactic or syndiotactic forms. The drawback when using Ziegler-Natta isotactic PPs lies in the fact that some structural parameters are almost impossible to study separately. For example, molecular weight and tacticity are strongly coupled in these polymers. In fact, isotactic Ziegler-Natta PPs can be considered as a mixture of very different types of chains. Short atactic chains are present even in most isotactic commercial PPs. Obtaining isotactic PP of varying molecular weight, while keeping isotacticity approximately constant, is not possible. Thus, evaluating the separated effect of molecular weight and tacticity distribution appears almost impossible. However, metallocene PPs are more homogeneous both in molecular weight and in tacticity distributions. Chains resemble one another much more than when using Ziegler-Natta catalysts because of the presence of only one active center in metallocene catalysts. While in metallocene PPS, the distribution of stereo defects is homogeneous. In their Ziegler-Natta counterparts, the formation of stereoblocks takes place. As a consequence of the homogeneous distribution of stereo defects, predominantly isotactic PPs synthesized using metallocene catalysts have shorter average isotactic sequences than Ziegler-Natta PPs with the same average of stereo defects. These possess no isotactoid or atactic blocks in their chains. This structural difference is large enough to expect very different behavior from metallocene PPs as compared to Ziegler-Natta PPs in some properties. As a consequence of the different configurational structure for the same tacticity, metallocene PPs show a lower melting point than Ziegler-Natta ones, and this difference is largely due to the lower isotacticity of the polymer. In addition, large molecular weights are more difficult to obtain in metallocene polyolefins. Due to these features, the applications of these newer polyolefins have been significant in the elastomeric, low tacticity types than in the high isotactic, high melting point ones.